so a cooper is the person that will make the cask itself. It's a very, very true old school profession, and there's not a lot of them around these days. So we're pretty lucky to be able to have this place. But it's a very specific art form because you're turning individual planks of wood into a perfectly sealed cask with nothing but the bits of wood and a couple of steel rings just to keep it all together. So you have to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, you're not going to have any whiskey left in it after 5 years. Or maybe even a couple of days if you're really bad at it. So this is our cooperage. Obviously they're not working today, so we get the place to ourselves, which is pretty cool. But this here is a little thing showing you the sizes of casks. Anyone want to hazard a guess what, say, we're going to go with this one. What size barrel that is? At a guess?
120.
120 is pretty close. This is an American standard size barrel. So this is this side? Bourbon, 2 litre, 200 litre. So that's American oak barrel, typically used for bourbons, but you might find something else popped in there. Need them. But yeah, each one is made from an individual little stave, like this bad boy. But I'm gonna give you guys some whiskey first so that you can not just listen to me talk the whole time.
Straight from the barrel.
So this one's a lot higher in ABV. This is a cask strength sitting up around, yeah, a little bit under 60% ABV. It does vary. The barrel is kind of cheating because we obviously don't want it to continue to age as it's being used. So it does have a little metal bladder in it, hence the tap. So this one here, you can kind of guess what this cask was by the color on it and the beautiful shiny sugary crystals that are on it. It's either a sherry or a port cask. I reckon this was probably a tawny. Give it a little sniff. Yeah, so you'll get a little bit of richness. Obviously, it's not going to smell that intensely while it's dry. Also, be careful of splinters. Try not to slide your hand along it too much. It is a piece of wood. But yeah, you'll get a little bit of that sweet, fruity kind of notes coming through. But I love showing off this because you can see on the side how much it kind of penetrates the wood. So you can see that shade of kind of purpley, pinkish, or reddish parts, and so it goes, pretty far into the wood, but it also means that it hasn't gone all the way through. So if you start with your base spirit, obviously it changing color and flavor means that you're taking something out of the cask, so eventually you're going to run out of wood flavor in your wood. So what you'd have to do then, unless it's something like this where it's beautiful and crystally and sugary, you might just use that as a finishing cask to quickly add a lot of flavor to your whiskey. So you can just pop some whiskey in one of these casks, let that incorporate into it, and then pop it in a bottle. But just say this didn't have any sugar on it and it had already been used to finish some whiskey, you're going to not have any of that beautiful tawny on the outside, and you're going to not have a lot of oak. You don't have to be able to make the casks, you can just repair them, which is super helpful and very important. But to actually make the casks, you need to be able to have the wood at the right temperature and the right level of humidity and water content in it so that it can actually bend. Much like a compound bow and things like that, you have to have exactly the right wood, otherwise you're just going to snap it. And it's never.
Is it only oak that you use for your barrels, or is there any other kind of wood that you can use to?
Typically just oak, yeah. So American oak and European oaks are your most common. If anyone uses any other type of wood, you'll probably see it on the release, like it'll be a special thing. Like Mizunara, we've done a Mizunara release before, which was I think a virgin cask.
What we're having is a cask strength whiskey, right?
Yeah, that's sitting just under 60%, and it's a tawny cask, so it'll have a bit more richness, a bit more fruity notes, and the peat that comes through will be a little bit more prominent as well. Yeah. I've got a fun thing for you. This cask.
Yeah.
So it's like
It smells like sultana.
raisins, sultanas, like burnt kind of jam. It's a bit sticky.
I just want to see the
That's
inside.
good. No, I smell it.
Yeah,
That's nice.
What?
yeah. So you'll notice that the bunghole which is a great name, by the way.
Bunghole.
The bunghole's on this side. So it would have been sitting, lying down this way with that being the base. So that's where all of it's settled. And the top is actually pretty clean if you look on that side. But the best part, you can just do this, get a little bit of musket.
Hey,
Do it. Grab
can we
some.
do it?
Do it. Here you go. Taste it.
It's like sugary and sweet,
I'm gonna
and you
try
get that really like jammy musket. Try and get the slightly damp bit, not the white bit. That's paint. Black is good. Black is a little bit of that musket and kind of toasted cask. Yeah. So this would, if it didn't have a broken lid,
Hang on, let me try.
which
tried it.
yeah, it's go for it. Quite severely broken. Yeah, between 5 and 12 years for us, minimum of 2 years. Yeah, so 2 years is just for it to be allowed to be called whiskey. But yeah, typically it's not going to have enough flavour by that point. Specifically that beautiful oak in the background and that sort of thing. And it also needs to, as I mentioned in the distillery, take out some of the more stringent flavours. So your maturation is going to be around 5 to 12 years, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, depends, especially in Australia. You could have two of the exact same spirit, two of the exact same barrel, made at the same time, had the same thing in them, put whiskey in it, sit it out in the bond store in the exact same place, like right next to each other. They will be wildly different. And so, yeah, with this one, your finishing cask is really going to be just to give a layer of flavour and texture over the top. Super fast process, doesn't take long at all. We can shave back a little bit of the cask, but one very important thing is going to be a bit of heat. So what we'll do is we'll build a little fire. You can toast it in any way you like. Some places have like very fancy versions where you tip it upside down and put fire shooting up into it. We just have a little metal container. We do all of our coopering by hand, so we're keeping with the theme. You'll build a fire in it, fill the bottom of it with water, and then pop it inside, and you can use a temperature radar to check the outside of the cask, because you don't care how hot it is in there. You want to know exactly how warm the wood itself is. So you want it to sit at a specific temperature for a toast, only for like 45 minutes, something along that lines. And so I equate it to like when you're having a shower, and if you have a hot shower, it opens your pores and stuff like that. It opens the pores in the wood, and you get a much better whiskey interaction so that it can actually absorb some whiskey and put flavour into the whiskey as well.